Hello everybody, this is Kiru Show here. Now then, I do believe this is going to be the final episode. Or there will be one more, depending on how long I do make this episode, or part. I don't know why, but since they're 20 minutes, I usually feel like calling them episodes. Now then, when we last left off, Deku and Telly were pairing up. Well, they were getting new gadgets and creating things, along with Sebastian and Inko finding that the church is rising once again. So, let us continue. Sebastian and Inko would get home, and they would basically start telling Deku that they may disappear for a second. Deku's confused as Sebastian would just hold up the flyer. Deku, his eyes are in confusion as they immediately widen. And Telly is kind of surprised because she's never seen that look on Deku's face. She starts waving her hand in front of it and actually snapping her fingers, as Deku just immediately walks forward saying, "So, this means we're leaving again?" "No, not you. You are still in UA. Begrudgingly, though, we might disappear for a second. You can still stay here. We need someone to protect the family, and we believe that you should be able to do so quite well, in fact. So, we're going to be going back to, well, we'll still be around, you just won't be able to see us or hear us. We're going to try and minimize contact and actually go back to the underworld." This is confusing as Sebastian will just explain everything a bit more differently. "The church is back. The deal has changed, and your mom won't have her soul taken after this is done. But afterwards, they might just stick around." Now, after hearing that, Deku, he is well relieved. This is whenever a phone call would come through and, well, the phone would ring and it is Momo on the other line. Momo is just saying that they know where Bakugo is. Back in the forest, they were able to tag a tracker on the Nomu. In fact, I think I got 2 or 3 of them, but they're all heading to the same place. Along with the fact that Tokuyami, I think we might know where he is. We're not sure if they have them together or separate, but hopefully they're together. Now then, Deku, he just asked why she's even telling him this, and she would just go and explain that she basically made a tracker for All Might. All Might did, however, request that you two come along, if not Deku, since he is the only person who essentially is almost at All Might level. But what she doesn't know is he's actually above that. Now then. Now then. Deku and Intelli, they would get dressed and leave as Intelli packs up all her new gear and her prototypes. Now then. They would arrive at the heroes meeting and All Might's confused as to why Intelli's here. Deku would just say that Intelli, with her quirk, she basically can do anything she wants to. If not, she can probably beat anyone. It's just that prep time is a big factor for her. So one of the main reasons why that girl is not OP, because she does not have prep time. She does not give herself any. Her with it is basically her being Batman. Now then. Yeah. Now then. Oh, Jesus. The heroes are going saying that because of because of the nature of Deku's quirk, along with the fact that he can transform and actually go beyond that, along with the fact that he was able to take down that thing at the USJ, he will be a valuable asset, along with Momo's enhancement quirk and creation quirk, and Intelli having her super intelligence, along with combat capabilities. Now, afterwards, they would go on saying that they essentially have most of this all planned out, and they just need their help. They have two teams. Basically, one team is going to be going to this location where they believe the Nomu is hiding, along with the fact the second location that was pinged by another Nomu. So they are going to be going there. Sorry for yawning so much, guys. Busy morning. Now then. After that, Deku, he would understand, and he would just say that if that's true, then he can be at the secondary location while they assault the primary one. Since All Might, Momo, and Intelli would be at that one. Along with the fact that Deku can basically go with Endeavor and Mount Lady and some other heroes, along with Best Jeanist, who really appreciates Deku's fashion style. However, he is sad that it's not made out of denim. Because I feel like that man is literally just a walking brain deal. No, like, quite literally. Like, I feel like he's just like a literal walking, talking denim advertisement. I don't know why. Now then. Anyways. They would all get into position. Deku, basically on comms, he's telling Intelli that if she has even the slightest idea that things aren't going to go right, just say something. Okay? She would understand this as they would begin their coordinated attack. The entire events with All Might busting through the wall and actually catching everyone. Karamari Woods basically getting Shigaraki, some of the villains, and actually Kirigiri. This would all go as planned. Except Intelli's confused. She immediately speaks up on calm, saying that was far too easy and it seemed like they weren't even trying. As soon as that happens, Kirigiri, he would immediately realize that they know as they are all teleported away. As that happens, the factory where Deku's at immediately blows up, and all you see is the Nomu. Now, the Nomu, they're all there, and the heroes will begin trying to get civilians evacuated and actually completely out of the area. While that is happening, All Might is on his way as Momo and Intelli are both doing so. Momo basically picked up Intelli and firemen carried her all the way to the other location, using about 65% of One for All. Because I do believe I gave her around 55 or 65 in the final exams, then the 2 weeks. So I'm cranking it up to 65% at strain level, I believe. Strain should work, yeah. And being 75%, which is above All Might level at max. For now. Now then. They would both arrive there, and All Might is confused, as he's just wondering why All Might basically brought his successor. He will go on saying that he is going to take down these heroes and get back to his mission, if not his goal. As he's saying that, he would immediately just start going on a little speech as Deku walks out from the shadows. All for One's confused as he sees Deku, and Deku would just create his feeling like eyes, saying that he is here. Not as an ally, but as a hero. All for One's confused, saying that, the way you act, kid, you're better suited as a villain. No. Huh? I refuse. Everyone seems to call me a villain when they know the true power of my quirk. So, no. I will spit in your face and show you that even a villain can be a hero. Oh, you're one of those assholes. And so are you. Relying on other people's tricks when your quirk is bullshit? Seems like you are the asshole here. Now, as soon as Deku said that, All For One would immediately charge at Deku, somewhat annoyed at Deku. As soon as that happened, Deku would bring his hands up as All For One immediately starts creating parts of the All Might killing weapon. These would immediately come in as Deku stops them with his hand, and there's a sound wave behind him just blowing everything away. All For One's in shock thinking that this kid just stopped this. This is a third of that weapon. As he gets annoyed, he starts creating more and more of it until he finally gets to the final phase. As he created 2 of these things, and now he's actually trying to fight against Deku. I don't know if in canon he can make 2, but I do want to say he can. It's just a bigger strain on his body. Now, why am I yawning? Anyways, as he creates this weapon, he immediately just starts throwing haymakers everywhere all around, blowing around shockwaves and booms as All Might. He's not only is he trying to protect civilians, he's trying to get Intelli and Momo to actually do the same. Along with the fact that he would actually come in trying to fight All For One, but they would do that whole clash where they're basically struggling against one another. As that happens, Intelli, she would actually begin firing off her guns as she starts shooting sticky foam and whatever she can at All For One. All For One gets annoyed by this stuff, and he just breaks through it. Eventually, Intelli would have to switch up to different forms of it, having to use the ice, having to use the fire, and actually having to use the explosive stuff. Which, the explosive stuff would damage All For One's mask, but they're not sure why he's wearing that thing. Now, as that all happens, Momo actually would come in with a punch, and she would actually be able to punch All For One in the ribs as she just begins throwing a flurry of them. She would be doing so as All For One would begin healing, and he actually does cough up some blood. Now, Deku, he would immediately just come in as he would throw as much power as he can at the side of All For One's arm, not only breaking it, but also smashing it to the left, allowing All Might to get through the weapon. As he does that, he immediately comes in with the left hook, as he socks All For One in the side of the face. Now then, as this is all going on, Deku, he would start watching as All Might begins somewhat deflating. All Might is producing with far too much smoke as All For One sees this, saying that if he goes back into that weakened form or weakened state, this is not going to be good for him. Deku is watching this as he looks around, seeing the news cameras overhead. He immediately just slips something out of his wrist as he just quickly moves his hand. As he does so, a little piece of rebar goes flying through the air as it smashes into the camera, breaking the video feed. Now then, as that happens, Deku can hear them in the helicopter basically talking about this as they would just say that now they only have audio. Now then, Deku immediately just runs over to All Might saying that he took out the camera in the helicopter, but if he deflates now, then they will still hear it on TV. So, we need to get you out of here. All For One immediately just comes charging in, actually hitting Deku. As that happens, Momo, she would immediately try coming in and fighting as she created a weapon and she actually goes to hit All For One with it, but that doesn't work. Now, Momo would immediately get flung away. As she gets back up off the ground, she creates gloves that have metal spikes on them. As she did that, she immediately comes charging back in. And Telly, knowing that she might actually have to fight close range, she immediately just turns the knobs on the gadget she has on her legs, and starts turning the ones she has on her shoulders. As she does that, she immediately just picks her weapons off of her back as she comes charging in. Now then, as she's charging in, she actually does get faster and faster. Deku is watching as she comes charging in, and she actually does hit All For One with the spear and everything she's got. She tries hitting him with knockout gas, that doesn't work. She tries hitting him with the flamethrower, the tasers, and she even uses the one thing that no human should ever experience: Ghost Pepper Spray. All For One basically almost chokes on that and nearly gets taken down by that, because that just does not sound pleasant at all. Now, as they're all fighting with him, Momo, she would immediately get attacked by the All Might killing weapon, but Intelli, she would basically tell Momo that she needs to create a shield now, as Momo starts creating a giant shield. She actually creates this thing out of lead, as this is whenever Intelli, she starts running over. She's doing the numbers in her head, finding that that thing will not hold back that weapon, even if she has one for all. The chance of her surviving that are very low. As she runs over, she basically comes behind the shield, holding it back with Momo, as she just says that whatever she does, do not stop creating. As All For One's basically trying to break through layer after layer, Momo just keeps creating layer after layer. As she's doing that, Deku, he comes charging in, and as soon as he goes to punch at All For One would immediately just bring his knee up, actually stabbing it into Deku's gut. As Deku is now impaled on a giant spike. His body immediately slumps over onto All For One's, as he just says it's a shame that he just had to kill this child. Knowing his quirk, it would have been very valuable, especially since it rivals the successors. Now then, as All For One would just push Deku's body off his spike, he would immediately turn back to them, as they are now behind the shield. This is whenever All For One would just hear one little sound. As he looks over, he sees that Deku's body is gone. As there are now feathers falling from the sky. All For One looks up, actually trying to figure this out, as Deku, he wraps his hands around his face. All For One feeling these scaly claws, and exactly how off-putting they exactly feel. Deku just goes on saying that, "You're lucky I took out the camera. Now, you thought I had a quirk. How droll and how boring. Do you want to know what I actually am?" All For One's confused and scared. He's never felt fear like this. What are you? There it is. That's the reaction I wanted. Fear. Humans produce it so fine, but so plentiful. Yours is raw and unfiltered. It's what I like to see. As Deku, he immediately just grabs All For One by the collar, and he actually turns him around. All For One seeing his twisted face. He sees the horns, he sees the teeth, he sees the eyes, he sees the nose. He sees every little detail in Deku's face, as Deku immediately begins screaming at him. As Deku immediately just punches him backwards and rips off his arm. As soon as that happens, Momo and Intelli go to come out from behind the shield, as Deku just shouts, "Don't." Momo's confused, and Intelli just says, don't do it. You have to trust him on this. Now then, as that happens, Deku, he immediately looks up to the helicopter as he brings his hand out and he just waves it down. As that happens, the helicopter, it would basically immediately start coming down as it lands on a building. Basically, Deku, he commanded the pilot to land. Now, the pilot did so, but out of fear, because he does not know what's about to happen. Ow. Now, Deku, he immediately just begins by telling All For One he will give him a chance. If he decides to just stop and turn himself in, then he will live. If he doesn't, he will start ripping and tearing his way through his body until he finds out where that limit is. All For One, feeling pure fear, immediately just starts building as much of himself as possible. He starts pushing himself to the limit, actually creating a giant visceral form. This could basically be attributed to an All Might killing form. Basically, where every single piece of his body looks like the All Might killing weapon. He immediately starts charging in and actually trying to fight against Deku. As he's doing this, sound waves and shockwaves are being blown everywhere throughout the city. People can feel this battle as Deku and All For One immediately just begin fighting. Deku basically toying with All For One, kicking, punching, and ripping things out, telling him that this is not going to be enough. In fact, he knows that your body will hit a limit soon, so he might as well do one little thing. As Deku, he immediately puts all his fingers together, stabbing into All For One's chest and impaling him, saying that it doesn't feel so good now, does it? Now then, as he immediately brings his hand up, tearing off All For One's mask, looking him straight in, well, not the eyes, but making sure All For One can at least see his face, telling him that this is his true form. He is only half human. So just remember this as he begins slowly crushing All For One's face and head. He just says that you were beaten, not by All Might, but by a creature who is the son of something older than time. Now, I am not holy. I am not demonic. I am the thing in between. I am the fallen. Just know that you will die if you do any of this ever again. That is not a threat. That is a promise. Now then, as he immediately pulls his hand out, he actually watches as All For One drops down to the ground and Deku just comes into his regular form. This one. All For One immediately come up to try and punch Deku out of reaction, and Deku just hold his hands out saying that, well then, I do believe you deserve this. As Deku just starts filleting and barbecuing All For One with fire. Intelli and Momo would actually come out behind the shield as they hear All For One screaming. They both watch as Deku is doing this, and he actually does have this sinister look on his face. Not only is it a look of satisfaction, it's also a look of... The best way of putting it is, I believe pleasure, but not the way it's sounding like. He's satisfied with the job he's doing. And as he's doing so, Intelli would actually run over, trying to pull at Deku's arms, telling him that he just needs to stop. Deku doesn't stop as he begins to continue filleting All For One. Intelli eventually just looks him into his eyes as Deku, he immediately snaps back into it, and she sees that Deku wasn't even in control of himself that time. She tells Deku that he just needs to stop as he looks back down at his hands. He immediately just stops and he looks at them, somewhat confused as to what just happened. What was that? It happened again. As Intelli just goes on saying that whatever that was, they'll figure it out. Now then, All For One immediately he begins healing, but it's very, very slow. So I want to say, only a few muscle fibers heal at a time. He has to do at least probably an hour or 30 minutes of healing. Now, as soon as that happens, the heroes would come in and Eraserhead, he sees all the carnage and destruction as he asks where All Might went. They would just explain that All Might had to leave because he ran out of power. If not, they would just say in the news that All Might was injured, so they had to evacuate him. Now then, after that, these three would basically be told that they did very well against that villain. However, it's just that they kind of won't get any special points for it. They would find Bakugo and Tokuyami actually, well, not rigged up, but I want to say they were starting to be put through the process of becoming a Nomu. So I want to say they were basically tied up somewhere. Bakugo being heavily restrained and with a gag in his mouth, so he doesn't scream or yell. Now then, they would all eventually get everyone back, and Deku, he would actually be very exhausted from the experience. Aizawa would just explain that even after all this happened, they will be taking a short day off, basically enjoying the rest of the class period, and doing all that. Deku and Intelli would basically retreat home, as they find they have the manor all to themselves. Now, they basically just chill out for the rest of the day and basically fall asleep together on the couch as they were watching movies. They would wake up and they would find that they are late for school, and basically they will not have time to get there. Deku would just basically immediately just reveal his wings, as it confuses Intelli. Before she even has a second to say anything, he immediately just flies them to school. As he does so, people are confused as where they are as the bell just rings and Ida closes the door and turns around. Seeing Intelli and Deku in their chairs, he's even more confused. He's about to yell something, but Deku just says that the class rep is not supposed to disrupt class, as Ida shuts up. Now, later that day, the big three would come in, and they would begin by basically Mirio saying that he's seen all their quirks, and in fact, he's most interested in Midoriya's. It's a very confusing quirk, but it's very interesting. Perfectionist, from what I've heard, right? Ah, yes. Well, you are correct. Is the accent part of it? No, it's not. I'm actually a foreigner. Well, yeah, I believe half foreigner. I believe you can call me half. My mother is from here. Oh, okay, I get it now. As Deku basically explains more about it, Mirio will basically just nod his head as he's waiting to ask Deku for a fight, if not a match. Now then. Eventually, Mirio would ask about it, and Deku would accept it. Mirio taking everybody out to the I believe the match happened at the USJ, so I want to say he took them all out there. And he would basically take down all of Class 1A, except for Bakugo, Momo, and Intelli along with Deku. Now then, along with that, I do want to say, Bakugo would basically, I can see him just being, since he's all straight defensive, I want to say he can probably take out Tamaki of the big three, while Momo and Intelli would basically find a way to take down Nejire. Yes, I actually figured out their names. Basically, since Intelli is all about being prepared for anything, she could basically use the tasers or the flamethrowers, or she can quite simply just use the sticky bomb foam, basically covering Nejire innates, as anytime she would try and use that spark, it would set it off, basically making her the center of an explosion. Deku versus Mirio. This one's a bit different because Mirio, right before basically as soon as he says match begin, Deku is basically dodging and weaving against Mirio's punches as it just looks like he's dancing. People are somewhat confused as he's actually doing pretty well, along with the fact that anytime Mirio does come in for an actual punch, Deku only attacks his hands, which people find weird. Until Deku basically breaks every single bone in Mirio's hands, and Mirio has to call the match, since if he permeates with broken hands, a lot of things can go wrong. Now then, afterwards, this is going to be whenever Deku and everyone else are going to get their provisional hero license, or the provisional license exam. Now, I do want to say that I need more coffee. Not that, but Deku, he already has an idea of what's going on, and as soon as they all hop on the bus, Deku, he's immediately explaining a plan. And unlike in canon, Bakugo, basically being humbled by the experience of getting the fucking shit kicked out of him by Sebastian, he would actually somewhat respect Deku's power and strength, but seeing his leadership skills, he somewhat appreciates it a little bit more, as he would actually follow his advice, since Kirishima would convince him on the way there. Now, along with that, I do want to say Todoroki would actually listen, but he actually still would ask the question about Deku's wings. Now, as soon as he asked that question, they would all be hopping off the bus, as Deku would just do one thing. He actually just starts taking off his shirt, as everyone's confused at this, and he immediately just reveals his giant wings. People see them as they're basically twice Deku's size, and they're confused at why they've never seen those before. Deku would just say that essentially with his quirk, he can actually compact them into his back like folding them up. Sort of like Hawk, but he can actually use illusions to hide them, which people do believe. Now, he would basically put his shirt back on as everyone from other classes and other schools, they're somewhat confused at what just happened. That guy has giant black wings, and they did not see those during the sports festival. Along with the fact that that's the guy who won. Now, afterwards, the combat portion of the provisional license exam would go with everyone trying to target Deku, since he basically has more tricks up his sleeve than they've even seen. And Deku, afterwards, he would immediately just be the guy who, he brings his hands out, and he actually reveals his wings once again. But this time he actually just flaps them forward as the entire force behind his hands and his wings would send every single ball flying back in that direction, basically sending them at such a speed even the wind guy could not block the balls. And Deku would get over 300 people out, if not around 400 to 500 people. And I believe there were only 1,000 students there, so getting half of the candidates out in just one fell swoop would be very, very impressive to a lot of people. Now then, the rescue portion would go somewhat differently, with Intelli actually taking command and basically just ordering people with like, hey, Momo, your strength and Uraka's gravity, you guys would be a perfect team. Uraka can actually just hold up vital points to the areas where you lift rubble, basically coordinating teams like that, with Mina and Kirishima actually being paired up, since Kirishima can bulldoze through anything and Mina can burn through anything. And all of Class 1A would actually get their licenses, along with Bakugo actually having some points left. not losing all of them. Knowing Bakugo, he would only have 1 point left. Or at least whatever can be considered passing. Now then, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed this series so far. And a little announcement for some other things is someone asked me if I can do what if Deku was Todoroki's brother, or if I can continue my Nomu Deku. I will continue the series I've already done after all of Season 4 has aired. That is something I have specified in the comments, but I've never actually put in a video. Along with that, I do want to say that certain things about YouTube, well, not certain things, but it's just that what ifs are a little hard to do, so if I get a what if that someone's currently covering or is doing, I actually do switch what ifs. Now then, let's see what I picked. Ah, crap. That is going to be the what if next. I gotta research that.